To see how fragile our modern world actually is, we can look at a synthetic stress test run on the city of Phoenix, Arizona. In this simulation, the failure starts small. A single transmission line at the Palo Verde generating station goes offline. This diagram shows the resulting cascade. Because the power grid is hardwired to water pumps, the outage rapidly propagates. Downed lines quickly disable the water network. When a minor error causes an unpredictable total collapse, engineering swan event. These centralized infrastructures are efficient, but they are also profoundly rigid. That lack of flexibility means they cannot adapt when multiple small disruptions begin to compound. This fragility isn't just a hardware problem, it's a design flaw embedded in how we govern our technologies and our societies from the top down. We see it in AI governance. When we rely on a single, centralized authority to monitor algorithms in a closed environment, the system cracks. Without external oversight, it's impossible to catch ethical failures before they scale. The same issue plagues climate policy. Top-down adaptation plans often fail because they are too slow to respond to the specific, nuanced changes happening in local communities. When authorities build systems that ignore local realities, they lose the ability to course-correct. By prioritizing control over adaptability, these systems are destined to break. But when these formal systems fail, society has a hidden safety net, the decentralized, informal networks that exist beneath the surface. In informal urban settlements, communities practice what's known as autonomous adaptation. Instead of waiting for state aid, residents form their own mutual aid groups and cooperative savings networks to survive climate shocks. This report highlights the Future Yetu initiative in Kenya. Residents there use digital storytelling to map out environmental threats and collaborate on their own local solutions, independent of the central government. This grassroots resilience is the same principle behind decentralized AI. It's about distributing power so there is no single point of failure. When developers build open communities around their code, they increase transparency. It allows multiple stakeholders to audit the system, making it much easier to identify ethical risks. In both climate change and technology, these informal, decentralized networks aren't liabilities, they are the primary mechanisms for systemic survival. Some governments are now trying to integrate these informal systems into public policy. Scotland, for example, is exploring how to support what they call an infrastructure of kindness. In this context, kindness isn't just an emotion. It is a foundational infrastructure of unobligated help, the small, everyday actions that keep a society from fracturing. This idea is grounded in the work of the philosopher Martha Nussbaum. Nussbaum defines compassion as a reasoned judgment. It requires a person to recognize the severity of someone else's distress and then feel a direct, active motivation to help them. This reasoned compassion acts as a localized buffer. It handles the small disruptions that rigid, formal institutions often ignore, preventing them from turning into catastrophic black swan events. We need this social infrastructure as much as we need power lines or water pipes, yet our formal institutions continue to regulate it out of existence. The problem is that most governments view informal systems as deficits to be corrected, rather than assets to be utilized. To fix this, we have to redefine accountability. It means engineering our systems to actively fund and protect these decentralized networks instead of trying to control them. This looks like climate finance going directly to community savings groups, or urban planners designing public spaces that intentionally facilitate unstructured, neighborly help. Building a truly resilient city requires a balance of forces. You need the formal organization of the state, but it must be tempered by the informal, intuitive wisdom of the people living in the system. This balance is personified in the archetype of the wise old man. He represents the point where formal authority is balanced by intuition and the practical knowledge gained from day-to-day life. It is a psychological model for the same equilibrium we need in our cities. True systemic accountability isn't about top-down control. It is about shifting power downward to empower the informal human networks that actually hold the world together.